Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I'm your host, JP John Poz. With me today, very special guest. May have seen him at Impact or OVW. You may even know him as Little somehow, but he might be. But he's also legendary, Mr. Larry D. Welcome in. How you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me. I enjoy coming here on a Monday night. I enjoy talking to you. Thanks for having me on.
No problem at all. What's going on in your world? What are you up to?
Man, I'm just, getting back out there hustling. I'll be, my 42nd birthday is in 20 days. I've just, I'm excited for 2026. Entering about my quarter century, my 25th year in pro wrestling this year, and I'm just excited for what's to come. I still got plenty of gas left in the tank. And I'm just excited to continue to do what I do and pass along pro wrestling knowledge across the country.
Wow, so you've really been wrestling that long. You started as a young pup in the business.
Yeah, I started out when I was about 16 years old, started training around 17. And, I started wrestling there probably right at 17, 18 years old, man. And it's just a lot. I've seen a lot, been through a lot. But I can say that I've been on the upside of it, and I'm happy to be where I'm at today.
And staying pretty active too, right? I mean, you really wrestled
Oh, yeah.
very recently a bunch.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I wrestled as recent as this past Saturday for Generation Next Pro Wrestling. It's something that I'm a huge part of. Something I'm a huge believer in Central Kentucky, and we do once a month events over there in Cynthiana, and it's just great to see our hardworking class come together on a wrestling show on a Saturday night. And I still get out and travel the country, and I'm not out 7 days a week like I once was when I was making a living, but I still get out quite a bit with my wife, and just having a good time with it, enjoying it.
Also have a book too, Best Hand in the House, right? You've Eat, Sleep, Wrestle. John Cosper has a nice book about you too, which is very cool.
Yeah, we had a really good time. I sat and talked. John would call me or I would call him once, twice a week, and we would speak on the phone for hour and a half, 2 hours at a time. And in about 6 or 8 months, we had the book there from John's a great guy. I love John, and I got to know him quite a bit during that process as he gets to know me. And I highly suggest going to read that book. I highly suggest going to find anything that John writes. It's not just my book. He's very talented at what he does.
Very cool though. You got your own book. I know he's out there. He's at a lot of shows over there, right? I mean, he's a big Kentuckian.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He attends shows regularly. He's always writing. He's got a project in line somewhere. I'm sure he's probably got one or two books ready for to drop here in the next little bit. I haven't got to talk to him in a while. Bringing that up reminds me. I just need to drop and say hello, Happy New Year, how you doing? But it just the book captures quite a bit about how I got started. My house fire, my parents dying. You just a lot. Just coming up and not only just signing a national television contract, but everything that goes with it, and life in general. So it's a pretty good read if you ask me.
Wow, crazy! The house burning down, the parents passed away. It's a crazy life story, Larry.
Yeah, man. My dad got diagnosed with lung cancer in early February of 2023. And then when we found out it was terminal, 5 days later, my wife was on the road with I at a wrestling show in West Virginia, and we got the call that our house was on fire and we lost everything. And we did get to keep our dog. We do have Willie was in there, but luckily there was a kid across the street who knew that we had a dog, and he told his dad, and his dad kicked the door open. So we did get Willie out of there, but we lost everything else. It was rough. That was a rough patch of my life. And we go in, we go in debt and talk about that pretty good. And it's just, perseverance, patience, and believing in God, help get you through where you need to be.
And thank God that kid was had the wherewithal to get the dog out of there. Tell his dad, got to get the dog.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And now Willie has to ride with me everywhere. He's anxious, but he's a really well behaved dog, and he goes everywhere with me. I even take him to the wrestling shows sometimes as well. He don't like to stay home if Dad's gone.
Man, I believe it. He knows. He's sensing it. I gotta, can't be alone in the house. I got to be with Dad.
No. Oh, no. Yeah, he doesn't like that one bit for sure.
So just rewinding back to when you got started the business, like you said, you were 16, 17. Who's training you? Is it somebody we know, or is it maybe
no?
We don't know?
I don't think it would be anybody that you would know. It was one of those things where, he hardly knew a little bit himself. And he taught us what he knew, and we got as far as maybe the tackle float over or something like that. But then it was kind of learn as you go. We was just hitting the roads, and his name was Calvin Smith. He wasn't in it very long. It was one of those situations to where I think I loved it more than he did, but he kind of helped me get in there. And once I got my foot in there, I just took off running and didn't look back.
When you get started, right? Why do you want to get in? What do you love about it, or what were you a fan of, or what territory or promotion were you into?
Well, I didn't watch any kind of like WWF back. I did back in the day, but my first experience was with the Mountain Wrestling Association. My dad was a big independent wrestling fan. My dad was a big wrestling fan in general. But I remember him coming home from work one day and telling my mom, hey, there's wrestling back out in Georgetown. There's wrestling back out in Georgetown. And I remember going, I had no idea what it was, but I knew it was going somewhere. And I remember going to stand in the line, and it was packed all the way back across the street. And once we got in there was a wrestling ring. And once I seen, everything that went with it, I fell in love with it. We went every Friday night, and it was something that I knew I wanted to do as a young man. And then once I got the opportunity to do so, that's where I took off. But the Mountain Wrestling Association, if you research Dale Mann, would probably be the recognizable name. Hillbilly Jim also was wrestled there quite a bit. Randy Savage. There's some really, really solid names that came through there if you go back and do the history of the Mountain Wrestling Association.
That's just so interesting. Like, it was an indie kind of, an outlaw, if you will, an outlaw show that got you into it more than like a WWF or a territory or an NWA.
Right. Yeah. I was more of a regional wrestling. Like, I enjoyed it locally more than I did on television. And then when Hulk Hogan body slammed Andre the Giant, and that intrigued me pretty well. And then I was just hooked from there. I studied all kinds of wrestling, NWA, WCW, WWF, all the way up. It was just, I always enjoyed independent wrestling most. I think it was because it was the up close and personal feel.
I love that you're seeing a young Macho Man where, he's really.
Oh, well, no, now I didn't get to see a young Macho Man. I'm just talking that young Macho Man came through the MWA. It had been around that long. Like, the promotion was open.
I got you.
That long. Yeah, no. He had already rose to stardom before I knew Macho Man. Yeah.
Man, though, what a cool thing to be a part of. Is like, hey, maybe somebody can make it out of here. Macho Man made it. Hillbilly Jim. I mean, guys that were superstars in the business.
Even like more recently, I guess more notable names that would come out of there that I could remember is like Wildcat Chris Harris, Julian Hall, the Monster Abyss, Carl Anderson. Those guys came from the MWA as well. So yeah, it was pretty cool to watch them. But at the time that Carl and a lot of those guys, I was a few years behind them at that point. So I really got to watch the MWA quite a bit.
So when you actually are getting in, like, what's your big break where you start to get noticed? Like, is it a gimmick you did? Like, what kind of led to like a big break for you?
Well, I mean, I traveled. I've done everything I could for a very long time, and then I think that my break would be I wrestled for a guy named Ian Rotten. I know a lot of people have their taste about him, but I was wrestling for a guy named Ian Rotten, and he holds an annual tournament, or should I say he held an annual tournament called the TPI, which is the Ted Petty Invitational. And, it's, I don't know if you don't know anything about the tournament, it was one of the best wrestling tournaments on this side of the country. And I got fortunate enough to be picked to be involved. And one of my matches was against Jonathan Gresham. And I feel like that's where the turning point was. I think that's where I got to prove, I can wrestle more. I can wrestle on that level as opposed to just a local level, that I could up my game and do it at the next level and do it well. And from there, I started to get more recognition. I started to wrestle more high-end wrestling names. And, I just put myself in position to be all over the country and put a lot of miles on a car.
Ian Rotten, I know he sometimes gets a bad reputation, maybe not paying guys or, different things, but obviously he's helped, nurture a lot of good talent through the years.
Yeah, I mean,
through him.
Yeah, I've had a few like Ian Rotten conversations, and I can honestly say that he doesn't owe me a dime. He may have said, "Hey, can I get you on a PayPal come Monday?" But probably Tuesday, the latest, he would take care of me. So I can't really say like anything bad about Ian. I know that other people have had they've had their horror stories. You know, I'm not taking up for him or whatever. That's amongst them. But as far as Ian, to me, he doesn't owe me a dime. He's took care of me, and you know, I'm very thankful for positions he put me in because, you know, from there I went to Rockstar Pro Wrestling in Dayton, Ohio. And then from there, I got an opportunity with Wrestling Revolver, which was doing combined events with Impact Wrestling at the time. And that's really where I got my break. And I had a Impact Wrestling world title shot against Johnny Impact. And I think that's where the Impact fan base got to know who I was. So I become more recognizable to their fan base. And from there, I met Scott Damore, and it was a long 2 or 3 years, but I finally got my opportunity to sign a wrestling contract, and it was pretty cool. It's something I never thought I would be able to do.
Man, that's just great. So basically, you're wrestling for Pro Wrestling Revolver. They see you. You have a great match with Johnny Impact, and that gets you signed, like, or at least gets you noticed.
Oh, it definitely got me noticed. It didn't get me signed right away, but yeah, it was probably 18 months, almost 2 years after that match that I finally got offered my contract. And it was like on the spot. I had no prior knowledge, you know, a lot of times, you know, but when I looked up across the ring and Scott Damore was there, I kind of had an idea like, something cool might happen here. And sure enough, it did. And he offered me a national television contract right there on the spot.
Man, that's amazing. Totally shocked. You didn't see it coming at all, I guess.
No, I wrestled Michael Elgin, and I thought, man, this is my last shot. And, you know, I was really knocking on the door, but I really didn't feel like I was getting anywhere, you know. And but once the bell rang and Michael Elgin slid out of the ring, and I looked across the ring, there was Scott Damore. I kind of was like, well, he's either going to like shake my hand and say, hey, good effort, but, you know, stop trying, or something really, really cool is going to happen. And luckily something really, really cool happened.
Man, how'd you take that? I mean, were you
I
just
mean, it was
through the roof?
absolutely. I mean, I was, you know, my wife, she, you know, at about 800 people there, or how many ever people they had there in the crowd, she found her way to hop over the barricade. And, you know, we just embraced the hug, and it was a lot of hard work because it's not just me that does the work. I think a lot of people look at like us as wrestlers. My wife is a wrestler as well. But at the time, it's like she was really, you know, a lot. You know, I was gone a lot. I was working my regular job. You know, so it's not just me. It was, you know, my wife and my kids, and, you know, we all made it happen. And, you know, once I made that national television contract, it was like we all made that national television contract. And it was something that we're all proud of, you know, and my dad would get to brag about, hey, my boy. And it was just really good time in my life. I'll never forget that. I think it's a lot of people will give me the credit, but me is just a small part of that. It takes my whole family as a whole. And I will always say that.
What did you think about your time in Impact Wrestling? Because I know that obviously they did a lot of comedy stuff, the Triple XL stuff with AC Romero. Do you like that type of stuff? Do you think, or do you like, hey, maybe we'll go more serious? We'll start with comedy more serious, or do you like that because you know, obviously the crowd is into it?
Right. Well, I mean, I enjoyed it. I think anything that gives you national television exposure, whether it be a comedic role or a serious role, I think that you have to do your very best at any given time. There was a lot of times that I felt like, man, you know, give me something, you know, give me something. I felt like there was so much left on the table that we didn't get to achieve. And, you know, but you can't control creative. You can't control who has the pencil. You can only do what you're asked to do. And I enjoyed every minute at Impact Wrestling. It allowed me to be a pro wrestler. It allowed me to, you know, live this was my job. You know, I didn't have to worry about welding. I wasn't, you know, working 50 hours on a welding floor and then traveling 3 and 4 days in a car. You know, wrestling was my job, and that's something that Impact Wrestling made possible. That's something that I will never ever forget. And, you know, it didn't quite go how I wanted it to, but I will always cherish being there. I learned a heck of a lot about pro wrestling in the time I was there. I just wish that, well, I think we all wish, like, what ifs, but you can't change the past. I'm fortunate to be there and to get to do what I've done. I learned a heck of a lot about business. I learned a heck of a lot about wrestling and life. And it was a time of my life, again, I'll never forget. And I'm always thankful for it.
Triple XL with AC. What did you think about the team? What did you think about the pairing? Did you like that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think AC and I were just two different guys. I think that we were just, he was from Maine, I was from Kentucky. It was hard to catch chemistry, but when we were there, I felt like we had chemistry. I think that AC is a heck of a singles wrestler. I'm a heck of a singles wrestler, and it's sometimes you get paired. It's you're into a different element, and but I think that we made best for what we had, and it worked for the time being that we was on television. It worked for us both, and I think that we both could have probably had better runs. Obviously, I mean, we were getting billed out as the biggest tag team in Impact Wrestling history, and I think that there was so much there potentially for AC Romero and Larry D as Triple XL beyond what we had. Again, it wraps around to you can only do what you're asked, and I'm sure Ace would tell you the same thing, that he was happy to be there, and you always want more, right? You never want to, when that light goes off, you want it to come back on right away, but it just wasn't in the books for us.
What did you think about the COVID era of TNA? You know what I mean? Like no fans, you're at Skyway Studios, and you know what I mean? Like, what do you think about that? Because that was weird. You know what I mean? It's what a weird time.
It was weird, but it was like a boom time for me. Is like I live in Georgetown, Kentucky, and I can drive to Nashville, so I didn't have to like worry about airplanes and things like that. But they would email our essential television papers, our essential work papers, and then I would just drive down. And it would just be me in the car and just tractor and trailers. It did look like you was in a zombie town, and I spent a lot of time at the Hyatt House down there. So, a lot of times I'd be gone 10 out 13 days. And luckily, unlike the other talents, their wives and kids are on the other side of the country. But, my wife could drive down on a day off the next day, and I'd still get to see my family. Things like, it wasn't like it was, I was gone, but I really enjoyed it. You learn to be a wrestler that way. A lot of times we go off of crowd reaction, and when you're at the COVID era, you just had a red light and your coworkers. So it was a lot of pressure on there. A lot of times things can happen and the crowd can give a response one way and it'll be okay. But, when you got just the camera and just your coworkers, you better be on your game for sure.
Man, to me too, you and AC together, if there's a real crowd reaction, I feel like you connect more with a crowd rather than just a TV camera that's set up there. And you know what I mean? Like I think you guys could have gotten more over with a crowd, that's more necessarily than.
That's what. Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I mean, AC's full of energy. I'm full of energy. I feel like that was what got us noticed, was how we got over with the crowd. So there's no doubt in my mind, had we gotten the opportunity to be in front of some live crowds, you never know what the story could have been. But we had to deal with the cards we were played, play with the cards we were dealt, and I think that we did our very best for what we had in front of us.
Any tag matches stand out? Because that tag division was pretty good. I mean, you had Motor City Machine Guns, the Rascals, bunch of good tag opponents for you guys.
Oh my gosh,
out there, yeah, bunch of teams.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we got to work with the Good Brothers quite on television, and then I really enjoyed working with OVE, Madman Fulton, and Jake Chris. I feel like we all four. We cut our teeth and it was up there at Dayton, Ohio at Rockstar Pro Wrestling. And when you get in there with someone that you're comfortable with, then you can really turn it on. And, we're just, I always enjoyed wrestling OVE. I always enjoyed wrestling Johnny Swinger. It was such a good time. So, just getting the opportunity to wrestle with Tommy Dreamers and guys like that. It was amazing experience.
Yeah, what did you think about working Dreamer, the old school rules match? What do you think about working with the Dream, Tommy Dreamer?
Yeah, that was really cool because I've always been a fan of Tommy Dreamer. He was also a talent agent. He was, so you got to know them behind the stage, behind the curtain, as well as on television, and uh, it was super cool. It's an ECW legend, not just an ECW legend, but a wrestling legend, and it's someone that I learned quite a bit from. You better have some tough skin. When you're around Tommy Dreamer, he has a dry sense of humor, but I really enjoyed it. I feel like throughout the program that we had, I earned his respect, and he was just a super nice guy. Every time that I'm around Tommy, it's always pleasant.
It seemed like, you were in a pretty good spot though, for the most part, like fighting Dreamer. Callahan was obviously always getting a push there and stuff, right? I mean, for the most part, you
Yeah,
were
if
in a
it
good
wasn't,
spot.
yeah, I mean, and the thing is, I can't have this talk without mentioning Sammy Callahan. If it wasn't for Sammy Callahan pushing, hey, this guy needs to look and give this guy an opportunity. There's no way that Impact Wrestling would have looked at me. I'm always thankful for Sammy Callahan, and he has a great product at Wrestling Revolver. So without Sammy, I wouldn't be there. I know that without question.
Do you think that, with that, if you stayed there longer, if your contract, that you could have gotten a bigger push, or do you think that, it is what it is and you kind of don't think
I
about
mean,
stuff like that?
well, I mean, you can't not think about it, right? I mean, it's your dream job, and I feel like it's just one of those things of, when I was 370, 380 pounds, I did what I was asked. I was asked to get in the best shape that I could possibly get in. I got myself in some really good shape. I got myself in a very good 294 pounds, and I came back with a great attitude. It just wasn't in the cards creatively. I feel I feel like I did my part, and I still feel like I was, had plenty to go. There I was ready to do whatever was needed, whether it be a character change or just some sorts of, just give me something. I mean, I can't dog. I'm not going to badmouth the creative by all means, but it's just like I think it's just anybody in the position, just like, hey, let me go, let me run loose, and I didn't get that opportunity, unfortunately.
When you look at it, how does it end? Like, is the contract just up? Like, how does, or is it left
No,
open?
no, I had asked out.
Oh,
I
okay.
was, yeah, I was frustrated at the time. Not frustrated, but just kind of like a pride thing. It's if well, I don't want to be there if you don't want me there, right? We was off television for a few months, 6, 7 months, whatever it would be, and maybe I shouldn't have asked out. I don't know, but I think at the end of the day, like my thoughts was they was going to allow my contract to run out and not renew, and it just wasn't. It wasn't working for me. I felt, if I love them, I want to be there, but if I'm not welcome, then I don't want to be there. It's a pride thing. And I just, it was a hard decision. I asked to part ways, but I did get an opportunity with NWA and
Right.
things like
Yeah.
that. And I still got to wrestle. Even after I was granted my release, I still went back and wrestled at Impact Wrestling. It's not like it was bad terms. I think that we absolutely understood each side. No one was mad. It was nothing like that. I still got to do business with them even when I wasn't under contract with them. So it worked out. I definitely think that they know I was a hard worker, and they brought me back even when I wasn't on a contract. So I was proud of that.
How did the NWA thing come about? Because obviously you're going to play an awesome character, question mark two, if
Yeah,
you will.
I was actually a fill-in, to be honest with you. I got a phone call 2 days out. I can't remember which heavyweight it was, but a heavyweight got injured down there, and I had gotten a phone call from an agent, and asked if I was available for some tapings, and I went down there and I wrestled Tim Storm, and he was former NWA World Champion, and he was announcer, and he was a commentator for a little bit before, but it just happened to be this set. He was in the show, in the matches, and I was to wrestle him, and we had maybe 3 minutes, and I was like, oh my gosh, man, like in my head thinking like, what am I gonna do in 3 minutes? It's just, I was like, I wasted my time. Here we are again. And I got down there. Luckily, Johnny Swinger, who I was a really good friend with at Impact Wrestling, and I got to work with him quite a bit. He had spoke up in the creative talent meeting and asked for 3 more minutes for me to show them what I was capable of, and they ended up giving us 5 minutes. So we went out there and I had a really good showing. And before I was leaving to go home, they had said that WPC wanted to see me, and I stuck around, and it was Billy Corgan, and he gave me his phone number. He told me he wanted to see me at NWA more often, and the rest was history. I enjoyed it. It was awesome. I absolutely love the NWA. I'd love to go back. So ultimately that's the goal. I would like to be at the NWA and just continue on. There's a lot of unfinished business there.
I love the question mark character, the gimmick. I know Josephus was great, and he had passed away in 2021, but that was such a cool gimmick. I don't know. It's so different, so strange, old school, if you will.
Right. It's hard to do that. And it's because you want to pay proper respect to it. And it's hard. The original, you can't be the original. You got to find your own. And I think early in the character stage, it was hard because I wanted to do it justice. I didn't want to mess anything up. And then, after a long talk with Billy, and he just said, "Hey man, just go out there and be you, you just go out there and be you as question mark." And once I got that, it was like a weight was lifted off my shoulders, and I got to go out there and be me. And it was fun, and it was over. Unfortunately, I had to leave early because my dad's cancer prognosis, and I had to caretake my father, and I just trying to get back. That's the thing. But I think in times like that, you have to choose. My dad was dying of cancer, so I had the choice was easy. As much as I loved what I was doing, it was a no-brainer to what I had to do to take care of my father.
Of course, that definitely trumps everything. There's no doubt about that.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Door open to go back.
Yeah, oh yeah, of course. And I've been in touch with Billy. I've been in touch with, it's just a matter of making it line up. Hopefully it lines up sooner than later, because like I said, I really enjoy the NWA, and if I don't go back, it's it's fine. If I do, great, but I would really like to go back, and there's a lot of unfinished business there that I feel we can still take care of.
Now, Kentucky OVW obviously is very big in the area. What's going on with you and OVW? Any openings for them? I know you've been in there for shots and stuff, but.
Yeah, I mean, not really. I mean, I think OVW is a great product. I just think it's, I don't know. I think I've wrestled more for Impact and TNA at the Davis Arena than I did OVW.
Right.
I've wrestled a few times, like you say, just some ins and outs at OVW. I just think I don't know. I guess the moon and the stars didn't line up. No, I wouldn't venture it out of the capacity to do so. They're a great promotion. They got a lot of great backstage hands and young talent coming up, and just doing really good things. I think it's overall great for our state.
And when Game Changer comes into town, you're usually doing stuff with Game Changer, which is great. Game Changer,
I wrestled with Game Changer Wrestling, and Brett's a great guy. That's a different style of wrestling than what Kentucky's used to. But I'm glad that he's bringing it, and then, something like GCW is what we're a part of at Generation Next Pro Wrestling is I like to mix old school Southern regional wrestling with, updated and upgraded wrestling to fit everyone's needs. And, myself and Max Sled, we really put a lot into it. And it's just something that we work towards. It's just we want to be as big as GCW one day. We want to be as big as OVW one day. But we just got to take baby steps, and just seeing the good wrestling around us. All we can do is continue to strive and keep pushing the pedal.
When you look at it, do you like that style? Because obviously you IWA Mid South. You've done some crazy. You like that style, or do you like the traditional style more?
I think I like to mix them both. I believe that's what made me organic to the Midwest and all over, was that I could be a Tracy Smothers storyteller 3/4 of the match, and then I can push the pedal to the more modern, updated wrestling at the last quarter of the match, and make it pretty interesting at all. I like to storytell, but I like the physicality of it as well, and I really think that's what makes my matches different.
It is an interesting dichotomy. When you mix in the Southern wrestling with the
Yeah,
hardcore style, I mean, it's different. It's
yeah,
there. Obviously, Memphis kind of did it a little bit, but it's
it
there.
did. Yeah, like I said, I got to grow up watching a lot of old school wrestling, and the thing about wrestling is people forget it's crowd interaction, and without crowd interaction, you have nothing. But I also like that push the pedal moments on that back heavy ends, and I like those sequences, and I like those strong strikes, and you just you got to think about pro wrestling. It's if you really think about it, it's an art. And if you have a canvas to paint your picture, and that's just my picture I like to paint.
It is interesting, like some guys that will wrestle the different styles. Like I was talking to Cash Flow a while back, and
I love
yeah,
cash flow. Yeah.
obviously you wrestled him, and you're from the area,
Yeah.
but like he talking about IWM in South, and you go to OVW. Just like interesting, like kind of where you go, you kind of have to, bend and kind of almost be a chameleon a little bit.
Of course, yeah. I mean, the thing is you always soak up, you always learn. I mean, cash flow set the standard for a long time, and I set the standard in my way for a long time. And when worlds collide like that, it's always good. I'd love to do it again.
Yeah,
But he's big now, man. He's working with Rocky, and
yeah,
he's a
Sylvester Stallone,
Stallone guy
Tulsa
now.
King. He's
So yeah,
great,
man.
great show. He's great on it.
I'm so happy for him. If anyone deserves it, it's him. He's such a leader, and he's put his time in, and just seeing good things for him come is amazing to see.
Stallone saw him in the tanning salon in the wrestler series, and it's like I
Yeah,
gotta
yeah,
gotta have this guy, this Bigfoot. I gotta have him.
that's my guy right there for sure.
Now, as far as you, are there places that you haven't wrestled that you'd like to wrestle?
I mean, I want to wrestle anywhere. I just love wrestling so much. I mean, I would like to get back on the West Coast a little bit. I mean, really and truly, the goal was NWA, MLW. I would like to wrestle internationally. I think if I saw Japan one good time, I might be all right.
Yeah, right. Why not?
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, but really and truly, realistically, I would like to get back to the NWA, and still, like I say, there's unfinished business there. I think I got my feel for traveling Tuesday through Monday, but if it puts food on the table and makes it worth it, then absolutely. But you know, the end goal is just to continue to have fun with it. I think that I've worked for 25 years to try to wrestle for as many promotions as possible. I signed a national television contract. I wrestled for the legit true NWA, the same NWA that my father used to watch and I used to watch as a kid. So I mean, as far as like it's hard. It's I just want the best, I guess. I would absolutely like an opportunity at MLW. The sky's still the limit. I feel good still. So it's hard to say where we might go.
As far as you and some of your favorite matches or maybe best opponents, who was some guys that we know or maybe even wouldn't know that you really enjoyed working with through the years?
Jonathan Gresham, Michael Elgin, uh, Jake Christ, obviously, Congo Kong. I mean, there's so many, like Colt Cabana. There's so many guys I got the opportunity to share the ring with that it's hard to really put it down into one. But I always enjoyed wrestling the Monster Abyss because I always learned something new. He taught me how to wrestle like a big man. And, I'm always indebted and grateful for him.
He is the greatest. He's the best. Kind of
Absolutely.
more, like as far as big guys, I feel like almost under the radar, or maybe people don't mention him and stuff because he wasn't at WWE or whatever. But
Right.
man, he could have been and almost was a few times. But
Well,
yeah, he was great.
he was loyal. He's so loyal that
Yeah.
he was going to the WWE, and then he last second was like, I can't do this. I'm gonna stay here at TNA. I mean, if you go back and do your research, I believe he was supposed to, have a storyline with the Undertaker and go into WrestleMania and all of that, and he just couldn't do it. He loved TNA so much. It speaks volumes for his loyalty, but I think it worked out for him. I think he made it to the WWE, and he's fulfilled some wishes for sure. I think he's doing okay.
So as we hit the wind down here and head towards the finish, what is next for you? What do you got coming up? What's coming up down the pike, and what do you want to be coming up down the pike?
Well, I mean, What's next is just like I like to teach wrestling with my best friend Max Litt. I like to see my wife continue to improve in the wrestling ring. My son is 15 years old, and he's a super talented football player, so we don't really push too much. But I mean, he works hard in the off season and training class with us, and he's turned himself into a pretty good pro wrestler that, we're not rushing nothing, but I feel like if we stick to it, we might have something pretty special on our hands. So, at this stage, it's, I would really like to get back to the NWA. But most importantly, I want to continue to grow our brand at Generation Next Pro Wrestling. I want to continue to earn students and grow students at Legends Pro Wrestling Academy, and just focus the next generation. I've been blessed enough to earn quite a bit of knowledge in getting knocked down and getting back up. But it's just about passing it along. So hopefully that's the next steps. I know that we can't do this forever, but I'd like to do it as long as my body would allow. I feel good. I don't see me going anywhere. So, yeah, I mean, that's about it right there, is just growth, just being the best version of myself I could be.
Where can everybody find and follow you on your socials, and also Generation Next, and also the Pro Wrestling Academy?
Yeah, of course. You can go on Facebook and you could search Generation Next Pro Wrestling and give it a like, give it a share. We're on High Spots TV. You can go watch some of the pay-per-views there. Some really good pay-per-views there. You can find me on Twitter at Best Head in the House. And as far as I got Facebook, Larry Jones. Larry Jones, the wrestler. Larry Jones, the person, is not much different than Larry D, the wrestler. You can find me at Larry Jones on there. If I reach my limit, you might have to give me a follow. I know that I've cracked over 5,000 a few times. But yeah, just give me a follow if you can't, if the request isn't able to go through to the limit. It's fun. I share a lot of my life. It's, my character is me. It's just me being me.
And got to mention Eat, Sleep, Wrestle. Check them out for your book.
Eat, Sleep, Wrestle. Go check out the book. You can go through there. You can order it. If you can even reach out to me, I can get you a copy as well. There's all kinds of options of venues, but Eat, Sleep, Wrestle will probably be your best option to get that book. We can get it signed. We can get it over to you. And I got Poppy here. That's Poppy. That's our little chihuahua.
Nice.
Yeah. Absolutely adore what I do, and I want to continue to do it as long as I can. And things like this just let me know, like, hey, man, this is really cool. I appreciate you for having me, allowing me to do this. I really mean that.
Hey, no problem. Thank you so much for being on tonight. But Larry D, thank you so much for all the time. Really appreciate it.
Yes, I appreciate you.